Hello friends, David Vos here. Well, friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day where you are. It's a beautiful day here in Alabama. I want to share something with you. I don't know where to begin. I was sitting here yesterday doing scrolling and looking at some things and praying and doing my normal thing. And I found I don't remember where it started, what I saw first. But I saw something somewhere about a woman named Diane Downs, who was convicted of murdering her child and shooting two others. And she had been in prison for years, and, she's got a life sentence plus 65 years. And of course, this is way back when. I mean, she's probably 66 years old now, something like that. And, this happened when she was probably, I don't know, younger. I don't know if she was 30 yet. I don't remember I don't know how old she was. But I guess it was, maybe late 70s or 80s. I'm not sure about that. But I listened to her in an interview, and I thought, I really believe this woman's probably innocent. And of course, as I listened to her, I could tell that there would be a lot of people that would just immediately not like her. Maybe they didn't like her personality, or they just thought she was very matter of fact. And they're thinking, well, this woman must have killed her kids, because how could somebody go through that experience and not be crying? Well, that didn't bother me a bit. I thought to myself, well, first of all, that doesn't prove anything. You've got to be proven guilty before you can be sentenced. And to say that somebody is guilty because of their demeanor is ridiculous. Secondly, this happened years ago. Thirdly, I kept listening. Why would she be crying now, years later? She's trying to defend herself. Thirdly, her answer to that was that's the way she was born. That's her personality. Everybody says that. Her father doesn't believe she did it. Her brother doesn't believe she did it. There's a lot that I could say. But I'm going to read something to you that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that she is innocent. I just found this. And for some reason, this has kind of struck a nerve in me. This particular woman. I feel very sorry for her. She's been in jail for a long time. She's been up for parole once or twice, and she's been denied because she won't admit to it. If she would admit to it, they might give her parole. I don't think so. But she says she'll never admit to anything she didn't do. And the more she says she didn't do it, the more people just laugh at her and say she did. Here's what I want to say before I go into this thing I want to show you. This isn't really just about Diane Downs and some injustice. What I'm trying to say today, what I wanted to do today in this video, is to show you just how corrupt of a world that we live in. And particularly this law and order thing we got going here. The prison system, the court system, the laws of this world. Now, if you were to follow the original laws of the Constitution, I don't think it'd be a bad deal. Even whatever those procedures were, wherever they came from, that guided our justice system, where we have a jury trial and you get an attorney and you present your innocence and stuff. That may have all been fine in the beginning. It sounds fair enough. But they don't follow that system. Rarely does anyone go to trial and get a jury. There is so much tampering with juries nowadays. There's ways to do that now. But before all of that, the fact that the court will go on for months and months and perhaps even years while somebody's sitting in prison and they don't get bail and stuff like this is ridiculous. And this system the state, which has no jurisdiction or no interest in taking people out. They seem to just get so involved, and even if no one's convicting you, the state will. And they will spend weeks and months manufacturing evidence. They will get testimony from, experts that work for the government, that use all kinds of methods that, frankly, I don't see how anyone could imagine that they're all just perfectly fine, because if the state is against you for whatever reason, because somebody in government wants to pin something on you, the sheriff could be hiding something, the town could be hiding things. I mean, think about a small town that has some criminals running the town and they're getting away with murder and rape and all these things and taking people's money. Well, I've seen this personally, where the judge in the small town was embezzling money. Look, this is happening in just about every town across America. Because once somebody finds out that there's a gold mine, or there's a way that you can make money by manipulating people's minds, and plus the whole world today that we live in, where it's this mindset of everyone's guilty. Why, of course, we don't teach people that they're innocent until proven guilty. We know about that, but we're not told what guilty means. You have to have proof with 2 or 3 witnesses in ancient times. You couldn't just say, well, we found a glove and somebody came along that works for the government and they said she did it and we think she did it. Well, of course she did it. Just look at the face. Just look at, we've got this expert that can read, expressions on the face, and obviously she does not acting properly, so she must have done it. That is the problem. I don't care how many of you watch her and sit there and say, oh, I don't like her, I think she did it. You can say that all you want. You can think whatever you want. But that is not the justice system that we live under, but it is at this time. That's not what we're supposed to live under. So, I could go on and on about this. I'm radically angry at our system, at the doctors. This whole video could just as easily be about doctors. I'm just about as angry at the doctors. And I won't say anything more, because I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to speak against them. And the people that rule over our world, I'm not allowed to say anything about them either. And people that rule over a little town, well, if you say anything about them, they'll just hire somebody to shoot you in your car on a lonely street, and then have a whole team of investigators take all the evidence that would, free you, show your innocence, and destroy it. And make false evidence, and on and on, and on the media present evidence that laughing at you, and and kind of making it a thing where it's like, well, everybody thinks she's guilty. Well, of course she's guilty, and everybody just believes that because they saw it on Oprah, right? I watched this for a while yesterday. I couldn't believe it. There was an episode with Oprah had her on the show, and this ugly, very liberal social worker lady that wrote a book that looked part of the Bavarian group or whatever. I don't know who she was, but I've seen her before, and I don't like her because, look, not just based on the way she looks at all. Not at all. But I must say that based on her looks, she's quite indulgent, if you don't mind me saying it that way. I don't want to say any more. But okay, and again, that's a personal opinion. I'm not judging her on that. Just like I'm telling you not to judge Diane Downs on the way you think she acts, and it's not appropriate. I don't see anything wrong with her actions, but some people think, well, if she lost her children, she should be crying 20 years later, right? But this lady was so without proof and indulgent, and never once ever said, I don't have proof, so therefore you might be right. Maybe you're in it. She never said that. She said, well, we know this and we know that. And half the stuff she kept saying wasn't even true. See, they spread lies in the media. And then the stuff that they claimed was true in the trial wasn't. And I will show you proof of that here. But the reason I want to share this with you is not only for maybe somebody out there will see this. And maybe if you can, somebody could do something about this and help Diane. At this point, she's 66 years old, and she's in jail. I doubt there's much more we can do for her. It saddens my heart. But there are thousands and millions of people all across the country. Can you imagine if this happened to this young white woman in Oregon? How many innocent Hispanic and black folks that are in the inner cities have been imprisoned over a stupid drug addiction or a sex addiction, or they got in an argument and slapped somebody or whatever, or they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they were poor and dying, and somebody said, hey, go sell this little drug over there. Take that bag of drugs over to that guy, and I'll give you $50. And then they went to prison for the rest of their life and was the scapegoat for some terrible crime ring or something. Or just the fact, and if some of you think, oh yeah, they're all guilty, Dave, because they're living in a place of crime, and they're probably poor people, and therefore they're probably, they're probably not Christians, Dave. They're probably pagans, and they're on drugs, maybe they're, doing all that rap and that twerking, and, they're, I don't know, you got, somehow in your mind, you got some sort of opinion about somebody that I haven't even mentioned anybody's name. You don't know who I'm talking about. All I said was somebody in the inner cities that might be Hispanic or black, and you're like, well, of course, most of those guys are wrong anyway. See, the thing of it is, because there's so much crime down there, you think that, well, if you just, we know there's a lot of crime in the inner cities, then it must be all these people's fault. And it's not. Okay? They're lured into this situation. They can't get out. Mentally, they've been destroyed, then on drugs all their life, not just street drugs, pharmaceutical as well. And the street drugs were also planted, just like the legal ones, by the government, putting it on the streets on purpose to degenerate the children, to have I'm not going to go too far into my spiel here, but I am saddened to the point of tears and angry to the point of fighting mad. And yet I follow the admonition of the Lord and I turn the other cheek. But I hope that I can do some real warring battle with the sword of the Spirit and make the enemy, which is the lies, go away. And perhaps I can somehow, cut through the veil of lies and darkness that's pervading around our country at this time in history, to just let a little bit of light shine through maybe to one soul, and I hope to more than just one out there that will understand what I'm saying and will wake up and try to do something that this will never happen again, not only in this life, or not only just in your family or your community, but in this world, in our nation, in the entire world, or in the history, in the times to come. We need to tell the world the good news of the love of Christ and teach them how those who have love would react. They wouldn't go around judging others, especially since they don't have all the facts. And without proof, they wouldn't be convicting somebody and murdering them and taking their life. And laughing about it like the media is. For I don't know how many years now, 30, 40 years it's been going on now, that they've been laughing at this poor woman as she rots in hell. So I was going along and I found this, and I'm just going to show you what I found here. It says, there has been questions about why James Haynes would have confessed. Okay, I guess I'm jumping in here and I didn't get to the, like in the middle of some sort of point here that I didn't let you in on. So I was reading this whole thing on Facebook. It's you can join it. It's people who were trying to free her. And there's not that many people, believe me, really on her side. Nobody really trying to free her, except for her dad and her brother, I think, and a few others that have realized how ridiculous this is. But most of the world doesn't really care. And anyone who's ever looked into this, they don't like her, or they just get following the herd mentality, and they say, oh yeah, she's guilty, whatever, who cares? Let's go back to, our pornography and violence on television. Who cares about what justice and, truth is, right? But So I'm just going to start here because this is good. You know, I've already kind of given you a background a little bit. I'll just tell you. This woman was driving home one day with 3 kids in a car. And she was just driving around the back roads or whatever. She sees a guy on the road. He flags him down. She pulls over or something to see what he wants. And he's got a gun. And he shoots everybody in the car and runs off. And this woman ends up going to the hospital, trying to get to this hospital before her children died. One of them died along the way. She gets to the hospital, and they saved 2 of her children, and she just got shot in the arm. So this is why people don't believe her. But I believe that they shot her in the arm on purpose, and this was set up by the police, and I will show you why that here in a minute. But the point is that there could be any scenario as to why she was shot in the arm, or, you know, the point is, though, that if she really did it, why wouldn't she have killed the kids completely dead? And why would she have taken him to the doctor? And so this is the story. They had no evidence or proof that she had done it, except for her daughter, after months and months and months of being in foster care, was told they wouldn't leave her alone, and she could never be happy, and they would never let her, until she was a good girl and admitted that her mama did it, they wouldn't let her go. And maybe if she would say, Mama did it, they'd let her see her mom. Well, after months and months of this propaganda and this MK Mind Ultra, you know, control that they were giving this child, they finally coerced this little child to say, Mommy did it. And that is the biggest reason that they used to convict this woman. Even though the DA, we find out now, had all kinds of evidence that she did not do it. There's proof that she didn't do it. And I'll give you that proof here now. So let me read this, and then we'll click on this link, and I'll show you what the proof is. So I guess I didn't know this until I started reading this, but this guy named James Haynes had admitted to doing it the day after the shooting. He confessed. And I did a little investigation on that too, and he basically said he was hired to do it. And I believe I know who hired it now, but I'm not going to go into my opinions on this. But I'm just going to read you, starting from here. This guy says why James Haynes would have confessed to attempting to murder the Downs family that fateful night. Like, why would somebody several times admit to doing it if they didn't do it? So it says, for 15 years, the state withheld the knowledge that a Free Soul affiliate shot Diane and her children. So it says, James Haynes, the confessed shooter, is a Free Soul affiliate. A caller made the report 2 days after the shooting, and the police did not tell my attorney about the tip. So anyway, let me just click on this, and I want to show you. You got to have this white thing up here. All right, so it says, Diane Downs murder or victim, you be the jury. Murder on hold, Mohawk Road. DNA courts denied any request to process DNA found at the crime scene. Now you can click on that, and I'll put a link down below so you can go to this website and you can look at all the evidence you want. I'm just going to read it to you here, and then you can go and click on these links if you want to study it further and find and see the actual evidence. But Diane Downs says, it is my hope that people will question what truth Oregon is hiding from the world. I think it is important for everyone to know why I believe Diane Downs didn't shoot her children. Following is a list of reasons. Number 1, James Jagger, attorney for the defense, said 383 leads that might have proved Diane's innocence were withheld by the prosecution. He said he had made numerous requests for discovery, including requests for exculpatory material under Brady versus Maryland. He also said, I felt I was at a great disadvantage to have been denied access to reports and notes corroborating Miss Downs' version of events. There's a link to see that proof. Number 2, trace metal tests were performed on Diane the night of the shooting. They were negative. You can go to this link to see that report. 3, the shooter, according to the state, was well within the car and would therefore be covered with gunshot residue. Diane was not. You can go to a link there to see that proof. The shooter was covered with blood spatter and the ceiling of the car was. Diane was not. Go to the blood spatter. 5. The gun, the Ruger number 14, whatever, that Diane was convicted with was subsequently found in a drug raid in Paris, California. Tests were run to determine if the ballistics matched the casings from the shooting site, and they did not. Why do you think the prosecuting attorney would adopt the children and then have another attorney send a letter to their grandparents instructing them to not to visit them? In 1993, we found people who were willing to swear that someone had confessed that he was the one who shot the Downs children. Their affidavits are listed below. Do you think the composite that was drawn on the night of the shooting looks like the confessed murderer? Question mark. His friends thought it looked just like him. Look at him and decide for yourself, and then read the affidavits. I'll show you the picture in a second when we get to that. A confessed murderer. Now you notice, one thing I want to point out here, guys, is I watched all day all these trials on Oprah and all these, interviews on CNN or whatever they were on. And never did they ever mention any of this stuff, like that there was somebody who confessed that they had done tests on the gun, that it wasn't the gun that they claimed, that she didn't have any metal residue or any, dust that gets on you when you shoot, misfire or whatever that stuff is, gunpowder. None of that was on her hand or anything else. So they know beyond a doubt she didn't do it. Why is she still in jail? Why did they withhold all this information? That's the point. So, just 2 days after Diane and her children were shot, James Clare Haynes began confessing to his friends and family that he was the one who killed Cheryl Downs and critically wounded Christy and Danny Downs. Sworn affidavits attest to Jim Haynes' confessions. On November 10th, 1993, Jim Haynes' partner, Clayton Neaston, told me on page 3 of his sworn affidavit, 2 days after the shooting, Mr. Haynes told me that he was the one who shot the Downs woman and her kids. See this link right here. On February 24th, 1998, Mr. Neaston told the federal public defenders on page 3 of a sworn affidavit, the day after that I saw Haynes again, and then he told me he was the one who had shot the Downs family. And there's a link you can go to see that proof. The wife of James Haynes had this to say about him. This is the guy that confessed. And his wife said, during our marriage, Haynes physically assaulted me many times. Haynes has held a loaded 9mm pistol in my mouth and a .357 Magnum to my temple, threatening to shoot me. Haynes attacked me and broke my nose on one occasion during another argument. Haynes threw my newborn baby down the stairs. Haynes attacked me so many times, it is difficult to remember them all. But I will never forget the violence and horrible crimes he has committed, nor the confessions he has made to me of brutal murders in the Willamette Valley area. Mr. Haynes has told me he is the stranger who shot the Downs family. That was his wife. To read her affidavit, go to that link. We have all the proof right here. The world needs to know this, my friends. And then we need to free everyone else in this country. So it says you can go to that link, or you can go to what Phyllis had to say in a recorded conversation. He has beat me bloody many times. Listen to it by going to this link. Do you still have doubts? Listen to what Dan Newby had to say. Dan Newby, or just read his affidavit here at this link. Now compare the photograph of Jim Haynes taken in early of 1983 with a composite given to the detective Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy. Oh man, I have been noticing this, guys. In all these documents and information that I'm going through, there's always these weird names. It's just crazy that somebody would change their name to Dick Tracy to, he obviously changed his name for this. But why are these people all got these weird names that are doing these things? Okay, I don't know. A lot of you won't find that peculiar, but when you find as many of these kinds of things going on as I have been seeing, it's like my eyes, it's like an unveiling, like the coded message underneath of what's really going on. It's all fake. So, anyway, this is the picture. Kind of hair kind of falling down like bangs and down around his shoulder. It's the same thing. Mustache, couple of days old, you know, stubble. That's him. Or at least it's a good, if somebody's going to describe somebody and this artist writes down what you describe and it looks that close, there's no way you can describe exactly what somebody looks like. They're not trying to get that good. They're just giving you an idea the guy had maybe kind of some stubble and maybe he's a white guy and he had shaggy hair. That's what it was. That's the one that confessed, guys. So it says, look at the eyes and the nose and that shagged haircut. Do you see cheekbones? The similarities are there for you to see. Teresa Njordit said, I was riding with Haynes in his red Corvette. We were on the way to Creswell when he suddenly told me he was the stranger who shot the Downs family. You can go to that link if you don't want the whole story. Janet Rexroad said, when I asked him if he had shot the Downs family, he admitted it and said it was a hired hit. Now, take note of that. He told this woman he did kill the Downs family, Diane Downs and her kids. He admitted it and said it was a hired hit. Now you know why they don't want the truth to come out. Somebody in that town, in the DA's office or the sheriff's office or somewhere there, somebody high up in that town did it. I have a feeling I know who did it, but, you know, just vaguely, because I've just been covering this for a couple of days and looking into it. But it's pretty obvious that somebody in that community had a reason. And they hired it. And you say, well, that's just some, you know, terrible situation that happened in some little town somewhere. That doesn't say that all the police are that way everywhere, Dave. They're not all bad. I don't know, friends. Where there can be corruption, there will be in a world like we have. And they've got these back doors of corruption in every courthouse. They don't follow procedures that would lead to good procedures. That would lead to proper justice. There's too many backroom deals and people buying everyone off. The judges are criminals to start with. That you got to be a criminal to get through the system and get awarded this cushy job. It's not they're not there to serve you, to give you justice in the community because they're serving the Lord. They're in an enterprise of crime. It's a crime syndicate, this world. So if what I'm saying has happened here happened, just imagine how this is happening all over the country. And believe me, this could be you. And may very well be you in a very near situation coming upon the entire world. Because all these things we've been doing for hundreds of years are getting worse and worse and worse. It's building up slowly. They designed it this way. So that in the end, it's going to be so diabolical that we're all going to be standing there like, what is going, what? Somehow or another, we're guilty of global warming. We all got to die. Somehow now, all of a sudden, it's our fault that, you know, because the neighbor died of some disease and we didn't get an injection of some poison that they demanded. Now it's our fault and we'll be taken to the gallows. Friends, there is something diabolical going on. If we don't get it at the root, it will keep growing. And actually, I think it's too late. And basically, all I can do is open the eyes of some people to realize what's happening so you can wake up and get out of Babylon, because that is your only hope. Let me continue. I told him the picture looked just like him. He replied, yeah, but they'll never catch me. You can read the affidavit about Janet here. Cecilia Nyston, Nyston's ex-wife. Nyston? Oh, she was a nice one. And these words, they're so strange. His ex-wife makes a few very interesting comments in her affidavit about both Jim Haynes and Clayton Nyston. Clayton and I then went to Jim Haynes' house. Who is Clayton? One second. Clayton Nyston's ex-wife. Okay. Evidently that was her ex-husband. I don't know. Anyway, they go to this guy named Jim Haynes' house. Haynes was sitting on the bed reading the paper about the case. Clayton asked Haynes whether he was the one who had done it. Haynes confessed that he had committed the crime. Quote by Wesley Fredrickson. I've seen the place Cecilia Nyston spoke about. It's a pond on Clayton Nyston's property, and I was told they disposed of weapons in that pond if they didn't want anyone to find them. And I was told they covered the weapons with Cosmoline and placed them in plastic bags to prevent rust. People are being told a lot of things, but nobody seems to care. Seems like the whole town actually knows what's going on. Or a lot of people in the town, and nobody does a dang thing. Nobody will lift their finger to help somebody. This isn't some lady that's got a broke down car along the road, and you failed to stop and help her. This isn't some family living down the street that had no food and you didn't bring them any. Who were hungry or just needed a friend. This is a woman that you're condemning to death because you refuse to lift one freaking finger. All of the people of this town and all the towns across America and across the world, same thing. There's people dying, being convicted of crime. People know about it. In your town, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want them after you. You ain't going to risk your life or get a mark on you from the state or the city. You go around talking. It's kind of like YouTube. If I go around saying too much, I get shut down. I've been shut down for 2 weeks. Again. Because they don't want me to say certain things. So I'm over here on this other site now. And if I want to put this... I'm going to stop there. So it says... When I interviewed Sandy Capps in 1993, her name was Sandy Stichler. She was babysitting Jim Haynes' children when I met with her. She shared a lot of very pertinent information, but was afraid to make an affidavit, so I never included it in any of my writings. When the federal public defenders interviewed Sandy Stichler in 1998, her name was Sandy Capps. She agreed to sign an affidavit, then changed her mind because she was afraid. In the affidavit the federal public defenders made of their conversation with Sandy Capps, she said, Haynes then asked me what I would think if he had shot the kids. When he said that, I got really nervous. James Haynes then told me he had shot Diane Downs' kids and that it really changed his life. You can read the proof for that in that link. On August 28, 1993, the first person to share with me about James Haynes' confessions of guilt was Fran Huerta. Listen to what Fran had to say. Now, read what she had to say in this link. Roxy Haynes was afraid to give an affidavit. Read it in that link. All these people knew about the guilt, but no, everybody was afraid to tell anyone. So they let this poor woman rot in jail. You're not worthy of the mercy that I would think should be given to any human being. Lots of people make mistakes, and mercy is what Jesus would give them. Because he loves everyone and knows that nobody does anything because they're evil. We're all his children. This world is evil, and it's turned a lot of people cowards. But the cowards that are in this world are the biggest cowards that's ever lived in human history. Probably because the devil has gotten so much power and this government is so large and intimidating that the only way we can actually even live in this world is to try and convince ourselves that all the evil that we do to stay alive so that we can continue on in the world and be normal and not have ourselves marked as well or put in jail for telling the truth. Or ousted, or shunned, like Jehovah's Witnesses did me. Somehow or another, you convince yourself that it's worth it, because at least you get to live. Well, friends, that's going to be temporary. You're not going to be able to live in peace very long, because when the Lord comes, everyone who's done everything that they've done, it'll be known to the Lord. And now the Lord's not going to do what you did and torture you. That's a lie from the devil. That's not how Jesus works. However, the Lord is calling out to everyone to love one another. Why? So that if we share our love to others, that love will flow through us. And we'll gain and grow in wisdom and in strength and in power and in love. And we'll become better people. We'll have a happier life. But if you keep going down this road of, selfishness and jealousy and anxiousness and cowardice, you end up in a pit of hell. And even Jesus can't pull you out of there until you decide you want to come out. And start loving everyone. It says, where do we? Okay, so if you're going to shoot someone, it's very important to hold a gun. Sounds silly, doesn't it? The night of the shooting, they did a trace metal test to see if Diane had held a gun. Diane remarked that the police sprayed her hands with a substance on the night of the shooting. She said she had a small cut on her hand and the spray burned a little bit. She said they sprayed her hands until the substance dripped onto the floor. This is called a trace metal test, and the purpose is to determine whether or not you have held a gun. The trace metal test came back negative. Diane did not hold the murder weapon. She did not shoot her children. That you can see at that link. There's more, but by now you must be wondering, what about the evidence? Isn't the evidence weighted heavily against Diane? A few years after she was convicted, the federal public defenders decided to get the evidence files and were shocked at the lies of Detective Douglas Welch. He insisted that all the records had been destroyed when they weren't. The sheriff's office said they were following leads during the trial, and they weren't. In court, they told the attorney for the defense there were no more leads. Roy Pond testified there were only 30 to 35 leads. Judge Gregory Foote said he had a problem with that detective testimony. In 1998, the federal public defenders requested all the records that were held regarding this investigation and any possible leads that might still be available. They were told by Detective Doug Welch that the records had been destroyed. The federal public defenders pursued this issue even further and found, according to William Teasdale of the Federal Public Defender's Office, on March 4th, 1998, Miss Willis and I returned to the Lane County Sheriff's Office and spent a full day copying the material from the 3 boxes amounting to about 4,700 pages of documents. Read the affidavit here. So they said there wasn't any and it had all been destroyed, and it turns out, well, they said there was only 35 pieces of information. There's 4,700, almost 5,000 pages of documents. So when Diane filed an appeal, Judge Malcolm Marsh made many decisions that could have easily have been decided in Diane's favor. Judge Marsh writes, see, they're all in on it. The judge, the prosecutors, the cops, everybody, courthouse, and even, the little secretary, and probably some of you that's listening, you probably work down there. Look, I ain't got no respect for you. You're working in a place like that and you know stuff's going on and you just keep working there? You nurses, you just keep putting, and you doctors, you just keep sucking all the money out of the people and their insurance. Oh, they got insurance. I'm a rich man because what? Because you know how to kill people? That's what you're doing. You're not healing anybody. When's the last time you ever seen anybody get healed? You are an evil person, whoever you are, if you're participating in this world. And that goes all the way down to the little Pied Piper playing his flute. If he's doing it to mesmerize the children, he's guilty. Why are you doing what you're doing? To get through this world so you can have a luxurious home and a nice car? And that's all you want? And a good wife and children? Or is that not what you want? No, I don't think that's really what you want. What you really want is, you don't want a wife. You want to just go and have a girlfriend every night, different woman, and, and just run around and do everything you want and party and, have all kinds of money, travel, right? Do some drugs and some orgies. That's all you're thinking about, huh? Some of you. You don't care that this poor woman's in jail, dying, rotting in prison, or the poor people in the inner cities of Detroit, lying around in alleyways in their own spittle. Oh, that's their own fault. No, it's not. It's your fault because you don't care. And those people will never get out of that pit that they live in because you don't care. I'm really sick of the way people are acting in this world today. I'm sorry, friends. I'm very sick of it. The miscarriage of justice. Exception to procedural default is limited to habeas petitioners who can show that a constitutional violation has probably resulted in the conviction of one of the who's actually innocent. However, to demonstrate actual innocence, petitioner must show that it is more likely than not that no reasonable juror would have convicted her of the offense she was found guilty of had they been appraised of the new evidence. Well, the petitioner argues that she is actually innocent of any dangerous offender determination, as evidenced by the above referenced attachments to her original petition. However, neither the Ninth Circuit nor its court has expanded the actual innocence exception to permit a petitioner to attack a non-capital sentence. See this, that, and the other thing. Now, you must wonder what reasonable juror wouldn't have wondered at the reason that the sheriff's office withheld 4,700 pages of documents and then lied about saying there were only 30 to 35 leads. The same reasonable juror might also wonder about the constitutional violation that was overlooked by the courts to gain conviction. I know it must just be her father talking, or is it? Diane moved from Arizona to Oregon in early of April 1983, and the shooting was on May 19, 1983. That's about, I guess, a month later. The state said Diane used Steve Downs' gun to shoot her children. Diane said the gun was in Arizona with her ex-husband. She said she didn't have the gun. So I ran an ad in the Arizona Republic newspaper for a week in 1984, offering a reward for this gun. This ad resulted in a letter from Prescott, Arizona, from a man saying he had the gun. It was learned later that the man who sent the letter worked as a security guard at Fort Whipple, just outside of Prescott. The sheriff's office in Oregon eventually gave a press release that the report was a hoax. The newspaper article said that Detective Diffendafer of the Prescott, Arizona Police Department had conducted the investigation. A few years later, I contacted Detective Diffendafer, I'm sure that's a real name, to discuss his investigation. According to Detective Diffendafer, Detective Dick Tracy from Oregon conducted the investigation alone. He did not go with Detective Tracy on the investigation. A few months later, the gun was found in a drug raid in Paris, California. This is the area where the Detective Tracy had been employed before moving to Oregon. Wait a minute. This is the area where Detective Tracy had been employed before moving to Oregon. So this Detective Dick Tracy had the gun that shot the little kids. So, Lane County, Oregon recovered the weapon and ran tests to determine if it was the gun used in the shooting. The ballistics from the shooting site didn't match that gun. The gun Diane had been convicted of using to shoot her children was not the murder weapon. Therefore, she did not have a gun, and they should go back to trial, right? Well, there's other reasons why she should go back to trial. That's just one of the many. The state's theory that Diane had used that pistol in the shooting of her children was in jeopardy, so the state then decided she must have used a different gun. Well, there you go, friends. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it there. I'm just so disgusted at the world right now. I love all you who are in Christ, and all we got to do, friends, is pray, and I'm going to have some wonderful, great videos coming out. One way or the other, you know, whether I can't, if I have to do it over here or YouTube, either one, I'm going to be putting out these videos best I can. We got some huge, important information that will just give your heart such happiness and joy. Because The Lord is really, really opening up many secrets. And time of the end is here, friends. Jesus is coming soon. I'm going to go ahead and go. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.